Alrighty. Good afternoon. We'll go ahead and get started. It's 1:33 p.m. On Thursday, March 27th, 2025. I want to start by asking the Madam Clerk to do a roll call for us, please.
Dennis Warren.
Here.
Catherine Townsend.
Here.
Mike Sinan.
Here.
Dudley Bates.
Here.
Craig Davis.
Here.
And Jack Morgeson, attorney to the board.
Thank you very much. Filling in for Attorney Yvette Brown. Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Let's all rise for a moment for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can be seated unless you're going to be speaking today in any manner. Please remain standing and raise your right hand so the clerk can swear you in. Make sure she sees that you're being sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are going to give is the truth?
Thank you. I'm going to read something real quick and for the record and for your information, folks, and then we'll get started. Again, good afternoon. Welcome to the March 27th, 2025 hearing of the Seminole County Code Enforcement Board. Before we begin, I'd like to advise everyone about the procedures that govern appearances before the Code Enforcement Board. This meeting is open to the public under Florida's Government and Sunshine Law. Therefore, every effort will be made to hear all persons having relevant evidence or arguments to offer. It is required that every person who appears before the Code Enforcement Board needs to be registered with the clerk. The cases where the respondents are present and signed in will be heard first. You will be sworn in or affirmed by the clerk. Once all cases where the respondents are present and have been heard, the Code Enforcement Board will hear the remaining cases as they appear on the agenda. When your case is called, please be seated at the table reserved for the respondents. The county will present their case, and then the respondents will be allowed to present their case. Additionally, please limit your comments only to information related to this case. Each party may question witnesses offered on behalf of the other party. Additionally, staff members may question those appearing before the Code Enforcement Board. The board will then make their decision based on the evidence and testimony as presented by both parties. All proceedings before the Code Enforcement Board are electronically recorded. Please speak directly into the microphone at the center of the table when you're up here and state your name clearly before presenting your case. Should you need assistance due to a hearing impairment or a language barrier, please inform the clerk upon registration. All cell phones and other electronic devices are to be turned off or silenced while inside the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. With that being said, I'd like to see if I can get a motion from the board to revise the agenda so that we can put everybody who's here today first and hear your cases. And that would be taking the cases in this order, starting with item number 1 on page 1. That would be case number 25-16 CEB, Betty W. Tanzer, and the case that goes along with that, item 2 on the next page, 25-17 CEB, Betty W. Tanzer. And both those, the addresses for both those cases are 300 South Sweetwater Cove Boulevard, Longwood, Florida 32779. Then we would go to the item number 3, which is case number 25-18 CEB, Barbara B. Fredericks, 230 Scarborough Cove, Longwood, Florida 32779. And the two other cases that go along with that, 25-19 CEB and 25-21 CEB. We would then follow by hearing item number 8 on page 5. That's case number 25-25 CEB, Jennifer L. Akers at 250 Cambridge Drive, Longwood, Florida 32779. That would then take us to item number 11, case number 24-80 CEB Phyllis L. Scott, Douglas Street, Sanford 32771, and another case for that same respondent, 25-85 CEB Phyllis L. Scott, same address information on that one. And after, if somebody makes this motion, we would then follow all of those by the cases where the people aren't here today. Do I have a motion to move the agenda in that order?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bates, second by Ms. Townsend. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that's what we're going to do. We will, that being said, we'll go ahead and get started here. So I'd like to call the first case up. If you're here to speak on that case, that's 25-16 CEB. Step up to the table. Betty W. Tanzer, 300 South Sweetwater Cove Boulevard, Longwood, Florida, 32779. This is Officer Adair's case. And Officer Adair, if you could tell us about that case, and we'll follow it with the next case that I'll read into the, well, go ahead and read that into the record now. We're going to have a presentation on this case by Officer Adair, and then following that immediately, case number 25-17 CEB, same respondent, same address, just a different violation. Ma'am, we're going to get started. Thank you for coming. He's going to present both cases, and we'll come to you and allow you to talk on both of those as well, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Officer Adair.
Yes, sir. Code Enforcement Officer Cameron Adair, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, South Region. This is case number 25-16-CEB. The respondent is Betty W. Tanzer. I would like to submit a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit A. So again, this is case number 25-16-CEB. The violation is located at 300 South Sweetwater Cove Boulevard in Seminole County, Florida. The violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3F, stagnant water. My initial inspection was on October 29th, 2024. Notices to respondent were October 29th, 2024, November 15th, 2024, and December 11th, 2024. The compliance dates were set for November 15th, December 2nd, and December 26th, 2024. The follow-up inspections were as follows. November 15th through and including yesterday, March 26, 2025. The results of the follow-up inspections is the stagnant or foul water violation still remains on subject property. So this is a picture from my initial inspection. You can see it's a little hard because of the reflection of the sun, but the pool is stagnant. Again, follow-up inspection on 11/15/2024. The pool still remains same condition, stagnant. This is follow-up inspection on December 9th, 2024. The pool remains stagnant. You can see the black water clear. This is a follow-up inspection, January 2nd. You can, I believe the water is a little clearer in this picture, but it still remains stagnant. Follow-up inspection on March 26th, or yesterday, March 26th. The pool remains the same. The suggested recommendation is, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-16-CEB, it is determined that the respondent, Betty W. Tanzer, is the owner of record of the property located at 300 South Sweetwater Cove Boulevard, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser records, is in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3F. It is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of April 11th, 2025. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove or clear the stagnant water from the pool. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $250 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Before he gives us the next one, any questions on this particular, from the board, this particular case?
Is this pool fenced in?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, that'll be the next case.
And go ahead with that answer.
Code Enforcement Officer Cameron Adair, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, South Region. This is case number 25-17-CEB. The respondent is Betty W. Tanzer. I'd like to submit a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit B or A. The violation is located at 300 South Sweetwater Cove Boulevard in Seminole County, Florida. The violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3G, unsecured swimming pool. Initial inspection was on October 29th, 2024. Notices to respondents were October 29th, November 15th, and December 11th, 2024. Compliance dates were set for November 15th, December 2nd, and December 26th, 2024. Follow-up inspections were November 15th, December 9th, 2024, January 2nd, and March 26th, 2025. The results are the unsecured pool violation remains on subject property. So this is our pictures from my initial inspection on October 29th. The left photo, you can see the gate is slightly ajar. It's not properly self-closing or self-latching. Follow-up inspection on November 15th, same results. The gate's still not properly secured. Follow-up inspection on December 9th, the gate is still not properly secured. It's closed a little, but not properly secured. Follow-up inspection January 2nd. I guess the respondent tried to secure it with, I believe, a bike lock, but it still doesn't meet the criteria for the code. This is yesterday's inspection. It remains in the same state with the bike lock, but it still does not meet the criteria. The suggested recommendation by the Code Enforcement Officer is, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-17-CEB, it is determined that the respondent, Betty W. Tanzer, is the owner of record of property located at 300 South Sweetwater Cove Boulevard, located in Seminole County as determined by the property appraiser's records, is in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3G. It is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of April 11th, 2025. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must secure the pool by surrounding it with a fence or barrier at least 48 inches in height above the finished ground level, ensure the gate and doors in such barrier are self-closing and self-latching, and ensure that the release mechanism is located on the pool side of the gate. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $250 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Adair?
Could you explain exactly what the requirements for the proper gate would be?
For the pool?
Yeah, for the pool, for the gate to meet code.
So it's listed right there, how to correct it. So it needs to be at least 48 inches tall, the barrier. So the gate would have to be self-closing, self-latching with the mechanism on the inside of the pool enclosure. So all that means is if I open the gate and walk away, it'll close and latch by itself. That way no one behind me or no one following me will be able to enter it without actively reaching and pulling the latch.
So the gate is the only issue, then the rest of the fence is fine?
Correct.
I have one question. It looked like, and you mentioned there's a lock on it. And I'm just curious if that lock, assuming it's securing that gate and it's unable to be open, is that, I guess it's still in violation somehow?
It would still be in violation, yes.
And what would it take to correct that lock issue? What does she need to do? You can't have a lock on it, or?
So would have to move the opening mechanism, so that little black latch would have to be at the top of the fence. And in order to open it, the latch would have to be on the other side. So you can lock it from the other side, just not the position is currently is.
Okay.
And you're also saying that that latch is not 48 inches?
Correct. It's about here, which roughly under 4 feet.
Mr. Bates?
I noticed a series of several visits and so forth. What is the protocol on, how many times you have to go and inspect and issue an order and go back, follow up? Anyway, how many times you have to do that before we get to this point? My concern is having a pool that's foreseeably unlocked, accessible, danger possibly to others, to the community. And why do we have to wait 3 or 4 or 5, 6 visits before we can, take more action?
So I opened up a case immediately, especially with unsecured pools. And we have to give the respondent at least 14 days to have reasonable time to fix the violation, right? Okay. So then after that initial 14 days, I send out the final notice, and then from there, we submit our SOV and send it over to the county, Alexis, to put it on the docket. So I don't know why exactly it takes as long as it does, but at least we have to give them a reasonable amount of time to comply.
There is the end process, and I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Morrison will jump in here too, but when it gets to the board, that if we identify something as a health, safety, welfare issue to the general public or the community, and that comes into play a lot of times in pools, not always, but sometimes in pools, especially if it's a repeat. Then once that, if that's voted on and approved, and that's in the motion, the final motion, the county has some authority, and I don't know what that is, and I don't know when that kicks in, but they do have some authority at that point to do things, I think.
Good, Mr. Chairman. Yes. If in fact the board were to find that any violation is a serious threat to the public safety, welfare, then such would be included in an order to that effect, and that would, by copy to the county, give the county the statutory ability to self-remedy and impose the cost of securing the property against the property owner statutorily. And it could take effect immediately. It would be at the pleasure of the county, of course.
The baton sort of gets handed off to if they want to.
It does if the board finds, and obviously, usually in my experience, that's a recommendation that comes from the code enforcement officer. Sometimes it's unilaterally decided by the board and/or magistrate, but it's certainly within the purview of the board to make a finding if they feel that such is a safety threat. In terms of the timing to get before the board, that may be an administrative in terms of the scheduling, but I know that oftentimes working with, as we all know, working with property owners to try to encourage and coordinate compliance is the ultimate goal. So it does at times take a bit longer than maybe ideally would be hoped for.
I have a question for the officer. So as a follow-up to Mr. Bates, this has been going on for 5 months?
Correct.
Okay, seeing no other questions, I think, Ms. Tansler, I guess?
Yes.
Thank you. And you're the property owner?
Yes.
That's listed as respondent? Okay. This is going to be your opportunity to address, we've got 2 issues that we're looking at.
I understand.
So, okay, we've got the gate issue and then the stagnant water. You heard the recommendations that are on the table, and these folks are going to make the decision here, so communicate with them whatever you like to. But the recommendation is have both of these, each one individually, corrected by April 11th, or a $250 fine will begin on each one.
That's my 80th birthday, so I
Oh,
will be quite aware of it. Thank you.
Okay, well,
And,
thank you. Thank you.
Did you want to say something else? I'm sorry.
No,
to
I want
interrupt.
you to go ahead and address these for the board, because they need to make a decision whether we're going to go with what's being recommended, something else, but so we're open to hear what you have to say, Beth.
Thank you. I apologize for being here. I've spent my life trying to do the right thing. Officer Adair, I'm sorry I missed you yesterday. I was outside working all day long. I have the bruises and scratches. I was cutting tree limbs because I had roofers coming today. I got back in town from California on Tuesday morning at 4 a.m., which was the only flight I could afford. By 2 o'clock, my roofers, who were not supposed to be there for my leaking roof until April 18th, had called and said that they were coming to bring the towels to put on my roof that day, which they did. That was Tuesday. Wednesday, they came and brought the equipment, the dumpster and everything, and today they showed up at 6:30 to, they're on my roof right now tearing it apart. The mitigating circumstance is that
Take your time, ma'am.
I spoke to you several times on the phone, and I appreciate the advice you gave me and the time that you gave me.
Do you want to address these one at a time? Maybe the stagnant water with a pool, or?
No, it all goes together.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, take your
My
time.
husband of 54 years passed away in between Hurricane 1 and Hurricane 2. Number 1, as you know, didn't do any damage in our area. Hurricane 2 did damage. There is a fence between my house, I'm on a corner, my neighbor is on the other corner, and there's a fence between us. It's a long fence that my husband and I, it was there when we bought the house. We replaced it twice. It had gotten old again. In the meantime, when COVID hit, my husband was in the travel industry, and he was forced to resign from his job of 29 years because they couldn't pay him anymore. Hotels and travel were shut down. He thought COVID would be over quickly, so he made the choice, against my best wishes, to go ahead and continue paying bills, and he used his 401k, he mortgaged the house, and borrowed on his life insurance, the cash value on his life insurance. We sold our car after a year and a half, almost 2 years. We were out of money, so my husband, who was vice president of a small management company, took a job as a host at Red Lobster, and I started delivering food for Uber Eats. So we've done everything we could to survive, but he had a heart attack in mid-September with no warning. He had a stent replaced and was in ICU for a week, came home and got steadily worse, even despite seeing his cardiologist, who said, "You're fine, you just need more time." He had a second heart attack 4 days after Milton, the bad hurricane, which did damage. The fence between my house and our neighbor did not break, but the middle section bowed down and was pretty close to being on the ground. I spent the night of Milton in a rental car in the parking lot at Altamont Mall because I couldn't get a room anywhere without driving all the way down to whatever the big resort area is south of Disney, and I didn't feel I could go that far. When I came home, I saw the fence was down. I started trying to call people to fix it. I couldn't get anybody to even answer. I heard voices out in my neighbor's yard. I went over. My neighbors are the owners of the house, are in their 90s. Their daughter was there from out of town with her husband, and they were cleaning up. And I told them, I had not told anyone in my neighborhood about my husband because I couldn't talk about it yet. I told them and told them that when he died, the hospital notified Social Security, who immediately notified my bank, Truist, and they froze half my checking account because it was a joint account with my husband. So I told the daughter and son-in-law of my situation, that my husband had passed away, that I had very limited funds. As it turned out, it was even worse than I thought because the hospital would not sign the death certificate because they took my husband on that final night to a different hospital than the one where his cardiologist was because it was closer. So the hospital wouldn't sign the death certificate because it was not their patient. And the cardiologist wouldn't sign the death certificate because he was not there. So the little bit of life insurance I had pending, they could not pay it because there was no death certificate. I only got a death certificate 30 days after my husband died, and that was only because my funeral home went to bat for me and called the board of directors for funeral homes because they were in trouble for not disposing of my husband's body within 30 days like they were mandated to do, and that's the only reason the cardiologist finally signed the death certificate. I'm sorry I'm telling you this to let you know part of what has been going on in my life. The other part is that my son lives in Los Angeles. He has third-degree heart block because his sinus node, which is the electrical current in your heart, was severed during open heart surgery for an infection. He lives with a dual pacemaker. That's the only way his heart beats. When he found out about his father, he was very distraught because after the first heart attack, his last conversation would be to tell his dad to get a proper diet and to start exercising. So I left to go to Los Angeles to be with my son. In the meantime, Officer Adair, when I got back, I think I was there 3 weeks. When I got back, Officer Adair's cards were on the door. I found them, and I think I called you immediately. You might remember the conversation, and told you I would get working on it, which I did. We have a pool company that's always been very good to take care of any issues with the pool motor. It had broken, and the pool had become stagnant. Before I left town, I heard the neighbor's daughter and son-in-law out in the yard. I went out and explained to them what the circumstances were. I said, you know, can you help me lift the fence up? And the male said, I've already tried, it's too heavy. We'll have to get somebody to do it. And I said, okay. And he said, I'll get back to you. I said, thank you. And I left town to be with my son and didn't hear anything. He had my phone number. I gave him a text message, the way to text message me. About 5 days later, I got a message, and he said, we're back in Indiana. And I had explained everything in my life, including no money and dead husband and everything. And he said, we're back in Indiana. I couldn't do anything about the fence. I suggest you hire someone to put a new one up. So I answered after thinking about it carefully, and I said, it was so nice to meet you and Jane. I appreciate the advice. I hope we don't have another hurricane. It's still in hurricane season. And I guess he took offense to that. I can show you the text message on my phone. But he called the homeowners association and reported that I had a tarp on my roof because my roof was leaking and the roofing company couldn't get to me yet. He told the homeowners association, where I have lived for 40 years, that my husband had died. That was not his news to give to anybody. Anyway, after I answered him back, indicating that I wouldn't be doing anything, I couldn't do anything, miraculously, somebody came in, jerked my gate open, came in my property, put a rope around a tree in my yard, and pulled the fence back up. I guess he hired someone to do that, and that's the way it is now. I don't know if you noticed that when you were there. But it's sturdy. The fence is okay, but that's not a permanent solution. He also, I believe, called code enforcement. I think, I don't know what you think, but I think that's pure evil. But I know there's a plan for all of us, so I'll leave that to someone besides me to determine. In the meantime, I did at one point get the pool cleaned. I didn't know how the gate was supposed to be done. I did what I thought was acceptable. I didn't understand, as I think one of you didn't understand what the gate had to be like. Now I know. I came back in town Tuesday morning, as I said, 4 a.m., and the roofers, bless their hearts, they did come early, so I don't get any worse damage inside my home. But I called the pool shack in Altamont, who takes care of the motor on the pool, and he called me and wanted to come this morning, and I said, no, you can't, the roofers are here. So he's coming in the morning to fix the motor. Apparently the tornado, I don't know what it did here, but it messed up the fencing at the clubhouse in Sweetwater Oaks. So I think it was right on Hunt Club, which is a couple of blocks from my home. There was a lot of silt, but it blew a bunch of stuff into the pool, and evidently the pool motor stopped working. And I guess that was, I don't know how I missed you yesterday. As I said, I was outside, but Mike is coming to fix the motor in the morning and get it cleaned. And I will get someone to fix the gate in the proper way. And as I said, I'm sorry to be in front of you. I'm sorry to take your time.
Ma'am, the pool motor currently does not work, is that correct?
When I went out and the water level was low, I explained to Mike, the pool guy, the water level was low. I filled it with water. yesterday, day before yesterday. I filled it with water. I backwashed it to see if there was DE in it. If you have pools, you understand all of this. It came out clear, meaning there was no DE, so I filled it with DE. I put new tablets in it. I turned it on, and the DE came out the outlets in the pool. So when I told Mike that, he said that something was wrong inside the motor, and he would have to come out and fix it. And I think I know what it is. It's the panels in there that filter the DE and keep it from going out in the pool and instead filtering the water. So he's going to come in the morning and we'll fix that, and the pool will be fixed before my birthday. And if I can find someone competent and cheap, then the gate will be fixed before my birthday too. And I thank you for any leeway and any kindness you can give me. You're already giving it by saying I can have until April 11th. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for sharing all that with us, and we're
I'm
very...
sorry that was so long, and you probably don't need to watch any of the reality
it's your
shows
time.
today.
Ma'am, are you currently living in this home, or are you currently living in California?
No, I just, I went back out there because, as I said, my son has a serious heart condition, and he was just told that he's going to need more open heart surgery soon, that he needs to be at a teaching hospital because his condition is so tenuous that he needs the very best doctors and equipment.
So you are currently living in your
I
home?
live in Longwood. I'm going to live in Longwood.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Ma'am, do you foresee being able to get these two things corrected by the 11th?
I hope it will be within, 4 or 5 days. The pool will be done tomorrow, and, I don't know how long it will take for it to clear, maybe a day or two after it's been cleaned and the motor
Right.
is running. The gates, I don't know how backed up they are right
Okay.
now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Officer Adair, when was the last time you were out there? I'm just curious.
Yesterday.
Besides yesterday?
Yesterday? Okay, I missed that then. So the pool's still, the coloring is...
Correct.
Everything, okay. Okay, and do you have anything to add on to what she said? Does that everything sound accurate as far as you know?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple decisions to make. We'll make them separately.
I'd just like to say to the board before there's a motion on the floor that what staff is asking for here, what code enforcement is asking for here, is basically, at $250 a day, that's $15,000 a month in liens. So I just want to make it clear that that's what they're asking for before we move forward.
I agree, and I would add on that, given the circumstances, sounds like she's tried as hard as she could to do what she could at this point. So we certainly can make whatever fine we would like, if there is a fine or what have you. I'm curious about the date. I'm worried about us. It's a short turnaround to some degree. Not given what the issue is, we need to make sure that's done, but are you sure that you can have this done in, what'd you say, 3 or 4 days?
Yes. My pool man is coming in the morning to fix the panels in the motor and then get it cleaned. And I will find someone to put up a new gate, a proper gate.
Okay. You may not need the whole gate. Speak with the code officer, whatever you need to get that fixed, but thank you for that. Okay, so that's where we're at. Let's see if we can get something done here on 25-16 CEB. This will be the stagnant water case. Staff recommendation, compliance by April 11th. We're $250 fine. And it's up to us.
Well, I'm encouraged that she feels like that she's going to be able to get on top of this and get it corrected. But I guess in case she doesn't, I would just move that we proceed with the officer's recommendations, except to reduce the fine to $100 a day. And if what she's planning doesn't take place, maybe she can get back in touch with Officer Adair and they can make some sort of arrangements or something. I don't see any sense in, I mean, sounds like it's headed toward correction. And I'd like to encourage that as much as possible, but still say that in the end, if it doesn't happen, we'll have to take further action. So,
You would still like April 11th?
yeah, it seems to not be a problem. She said in 4 or 5 days.
I'd like to give her a month.
Ms. Townsend, if you could just lower your microphone so that.
Well,
Thank you very much.
I was just asking the motion, or if he'd be willing to amend that to maybe give her another 30 days instead of 2 weeks.
on this one, yes, yeah,
Okay.
that'd be all right. I would amend the motion
If you
that
could just
way. to
restate
make-
then, so the motion would state as for this case that you would move to come into compliance by when?
Let me look at the calendar
May
here.
11th.
May 11th?
Okay.
And then if no compliance is met by May 11th,
The fine of $100, I believe is what you said.
$100 fine? It's in each instance?
Okay,
Mr. Bates is making the motion, so I just wanted to get clarification for the board. So, as I understand, for the board's edification, you're looking at a compliance date, a motion to comply by May 11th, or in the event compliance is not met, a fine to be imposed of $100 per day.
$100 a day.
On this case,
Yeah.
okay, I
Yeah.
understand. That's the motion made by
That's the
Mr.
motion.
Bates.
Thank you. Very good.
Just for clarification, are we covering both 1 and 2 here, or
No,
just
one
one?
right
Just
now.
one?
Just this
For the moment, one.
one, and then we'll do the other.
So that's everybody understand the motion? That's what we have on the table.
I second that.
Second by Ms. Townsend. Motion by Mr. Bates, second by Ms. Townsend. It was just read by Mr. Morrison. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the next case, same respondent, 25-17 CEB. This is the fence case. The same recommendation is on the table, and we can make whatever motion we want. Recommendations by April 11th or $250 per day fine.
I would copy the motion from the first one and make it in compliance by May 11th, if not, $100 a day fine.
I would second for discussion. My problem with that is I'm more concerned about this one from a potential public safety basis than I am the stagnant water, frankly, because of potential access to get into the pool and falling into it. And I'm a little more sensitive about that perhaps than others might be because of some past experience of,
But it's got a padlock on it. It's just not high enough.
well,
I don't see where
the,
anybody's going to be able to
so
get in
the
a
door,
padlock.
all right. So that would be, it does, it's got the lock, it's just not according to code. Is that right? It's secured?
So, no. The barrier itself needs to be 48 inches, so that's the minimum requirement, it needs to be 4 feet. The latch, the lock needs to be 54 inches and located on the interior of the pool, like the
Right.
pool side. And then along with that, a lock does not suffice, but it has to be self-closing, self-latching, meaning without human intervention, the gate will close by itself.
Okay, so it's not up to code, but it's secured. It's locked.
Technically,
Yes
yes, but
or
I
no?
cannot say it. Technically, yes, but I can't. I have to go by the code.
Right.
I understand that. You need it done by the code. I understand the code, but I'm just concerned about the thing being secured so that somebody doesn't toddle in there and fall in and something really bad happened. So, okay, if it's secured, I'll second her motion then.
You were there yesterday, sir. Did you attempt to open the gate?
Yesterday, no, but previously, I was unable to open it, correct?
You were unable to open it with
Correct.
the bicycle lock on it?
Correct.
Thank you.
Motion by Ms. Townsend, second by Mr. Bates, that was there a time on that?
May 11th,
By
or $100.
by May 11th, compliance date,
Yes, sir.
or $100 a day fine is what we have on the table.
That's correct.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it carries. So that's what we've done, ma'am. Both of those issues, you have until May, not April, but May 11th, or $100 per day fine. So that gives you a little extra time. Normally, everything was taken into consideration. I'll just leave it at that, so.
I understand that, and I thank you so very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
I do
you.
have a question. If the barrier, meaning the fence or the gate, has to be 48 inches in height, but the latch has to be less than 54 inches, I still don't understand where the latch is supposed to be. If the barrier is 48, which is 4 feet,
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that the respondent get with code enforcement, and they can work through the details now
Yeah,
that she's
when
got some
you
time to do
Okay.
that.
leave here, if he's still going, just wait for him or call him later, but he'll guide you on that.
okay,
It
if
seems
I
a little-
miss you,
yeah.
Officer Adair, I have your number, I'll call you, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming in today and everything you've done.
I thank you so much,
Yes.
and I'm sorry I fell
Ms.
apart.
Townsend, I'm sorry, you just want to lower your microphone so we've got you on mic. Have
So
your
lower your mic so
microphone.
we can-
Everything's got to be on the mic, I'm sorry. That's why.
I was just remarking that perhaps they can give her some guidance on where she can find somebody who's just willing to do a gate without the fence.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so if we're good, we're going to move to the next case, which is 25-18 CEB Barbara B. Fredericks, 230 Scarborough Cove, Longwood, Florida, 32779. Looks like this respondent has two other cases as well. It'll be followed by 25-19 CEB, same respondent, same address, followed by 25-21 CEB, same respondent, same address.
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And best of luck.
Thank you.
Ma'am, could you state your name, please?
Barbara Fredericks.
Thank you. And you're the owner named on this property?
Yes, I
Thank
am.
you, ma'am.
I can't hear you. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, Officer Adair.
Yes, sir. Code Enforcement Officer Cameron Adair, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, South Region. This is case number 25-18-CEB. The respondent is Barbara B. Fredericks. I'd like to submit a copy of this PowerPoint present to the clerk as Exhibit A. The violation is located at 230 Scarborough Cove, Seminole County, Florida. The violation charge is Seminole County Code Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3G, unsecured swimming pool. Initial inspection was on September 25th, 2024. Notice to respondent was on September 25th, 2024. Compliance dates were set for October 11th, 2024, and follow-up inspections were October 24th, 2024, March 14th, date of posting, 2025, and yesterday, March 26th, 2025. The results of the follow-up inspection are the unsecured pool violation remains on subject property. So these are images from when I first initially saw the violation on September 25th, 2024. You can see the enclosure has collapsed in on itself and pushed the gate open. Follow-up inspection, October 24, 2024, same results, the gate is still open. This is date of posting yesterday, March 14th, or, correction, this is date of posting on March 14th, 2025, and same results, the gate is still open. This is yesterday's inspection on March 26, 2025. It looks like the respondent attempted to secure the pool with a chain and padlock. The suggested recommendation by me is based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-18-CEB. It is determined that the respondent, Barbara B. Fredericks, is the owner of record of property located at 230 Scarborough Cove, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records. Is in possession or control of the property and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3G. It is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of April 11, 2025. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must secure the pool by surrounding it with a fence or barrier at least 48 inches in height above the finished ground level, ensure the gates and doors and such barriers are self-closing and self-latching, and ensure that the release mechanism is located on the pool side of the gate. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $250 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Adair? Seeing none, if you want to move on to the next case, which will be case number 25-19 CEB.
Code Enforcement Officer Cameron Adair, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, South Region. This is case number 25-19-CEB. The respondent is Barbara B. Fredericks. Would like to submit a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit B. The violation is located at 230 Scarborough Cove, Seminole County, Florida. The violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3B, uncultivated vegetation. Initial inspection was on September 9th, 2024. Notices to respondent are September 9th and September 25th, 2024. Compliance dates were set for September 25th and October 11th, 2024. Follow-up inspections were September 25th through yesterday, March 26, 2025. The follow-up inspection results are the violation of uncultivated vegetation remains on subject property. This is my initial inspection on September 9, 2024. You see the vegetation coming from the top of the frame is now on the remains. A follow-up inspection on September 25th, 2024. The vegetation still remains. Follow-up inspection October 24th, 2024. The vegetation is in the same state. This is date of posting on March 14th, 2025. The vegetation remains. And this is yesterday's inspection, March 26, 2025. Vegetation remains. The suggested recommendation by the Code Enforcement Officer is based on testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-19-CEB. It is determined that the respondent, Barbara B. Fredericks, is the owner of record of property located at 230 Scarborough Cove, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records. Is in possession or control of the property and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3B. It is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of April 11, 2025. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove all the uncultivated vegetation in excess of 8 inches in height from the property. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Adair on this case? Seeing none, we're moving to the next Third and final case on this respondent, 25-21 CEB. Whenever you're ready.
Code Enforcement Officer Karen Adair, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, South Region. This is case number 25-21-CEB. The respondent is Barbara B. Fredericks. The violation is located at 230 Scarborough Cove, Seminole County, Florida. The violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3H. Any other material or condition tending by its existence and/or accumulation to endanger or adversely affect the health, safety, lives, or well-being of citizens of Seminole County. The initial inspection was on September 9, 2024. Notices to respondent were September 9th and September 25th, 2024. Compliance dates were set for September 25th and October 11th, 2024. Follow-up inspections were September 25th, 2024 through yesterday, March 26, 2025. The results of follow-up inspection were the violation remains on subject property. These are images from my initial inspection on September 9, 2024. You can show the pool enclosure. Let me reiterate this. Her and her neighbor share a zero lot line. So meaning that pool enclosure connects to her neighbor's house. That's why this is the violation it is. So the pool enclosure being collapsed like that directly affects the neighbor. So this is a follow-up inspection on September 25th, 2024. The pool enclosure remains in the same state. Follow-up inspection October 24th, 2024. Pool enclosure remains in the same state. This is data posting March 14th, 2025. The pool enclosure remains in the same state. This is yesterday's follow-up inspection. March 26, 2025, pool remains in the same state. The suggested recommendation is, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-21-CEB, it is determined that the respondent, Barbara B. Fredericks, is the owner of record of property located at 230 Scarborough Cove, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, is in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3H. And it is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of April 11, 2025. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must repair the pool enclosure to its original condition or remove it in its entirety. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $100 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for Officer Adair?
Mr. Dare, is there a history with this property, and can you go over it with us?
So I do not remember when the exact code board date was, but we've previously had a lien hearing for this property for remains or rubble of a structure. So that was sometime last year. And last we left off, she was working with Rebuild Florida to have the house removed or demolished and rebuilt.
The roof was basically collapsed in on itself, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Thank you. Do you know if that's still the case today?
Yes, so the HOA sent me building plans with the intent that they're going to demolish the house and rebuild it. I do not know when that will take place.
Thank you.
And wouldn't this be included in removal of that for
Correct.
demolition? Okay.
The first case and the third case seem similar in nature, but I guess they're different. One's the enclosure and one is securing the pool, but
Yes.
the enclosure secures the pool. Are they sort of the same thing, or are they actually two violations?
Two separate violations.
So if the structure were removed, then she would still have an unsecured pool. The rest of the property is not fenced.
Yes. So if the structure is removed, the pool would still be unsecured, but I believe, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing-
I don't have a question, I'm
Okay.
ready to make a motion.
No, we're going to hear from the respondent.
Oh, that's right. Hello.
I usually am the one doing it. Ms. Fredericks, this is your opportunity. We've got
Yeah.
3 issues here. You heard them. I can clarify, or any of us can clarify if you want, but
Yeah.
it's your chance.
The pool is, the drain is open, so there can't be any water in it. And then there's a cover over it, which probably has been semi-destroyed because of all the debris piling on it. When I've been approved for Rebuild of Florida to come in and rebuild it, there's just been some issues with the homeowners, and I don't know where it goes with Seminole County if all, the approvals are there. I haven't gotten a date, but I do have a letter from them for you, and where you can call them if they like. They've moved on out of the Orlando area, but the person that's been working with me is still in contact with me, and it will still go ahead apparently.
Do they have a date, any plans, just how far along the process are they? You said they moved out of town,
She says, let's see.
this is the rebuild company, correct? Yeah, this is the
Yeah,
rebuild?
Rebuild Florida.
Yeah, ma'am, if you have a copy of that, you can submit that, and it can be made part of the case file, but you'll have to relinquish control of that when we read it into the record.
That's for you.
Ma'am, you heard Mr. Morrison, that will have to be left into
Yeah,
our
I
records. You
knew
okay with
that,
that?
and so-
Thank you.
Thanks. We can provide her a copy back. It's, if I could, Mr. Chairman, so you go ahead there. You can read it to the board.
Okay. This is dated March 22nd, 2025, to whom it may concern. Ms. Barbara Fredericks is participating in the Rebuild Florida Housing Repair and Replacement Program, parentheses HRRP, for Hurricane Ian through the administration of the Florida Commerce Agency. Ms. Barbara Fredericks has gone through the initial damage assessment, environmental review, and has executed the signing of the homeowner grant agreement in Florida Commerce. Ms. Fredericks has been awarded a construction of her home. She is currently under the pre-construction review phase and awaiting for the final key activities to be approved before the start of physical construction. Ms. Barbara Fredericks has taken a proactive approach to resolve the issues and concerns with her home by applying for Rebuild Florida Housing Repair and Replacement Program. Once final key activities are reviewed and approved, the new construction of Ms. Fredericks' home will begin. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at the number Alexis Cole, Case Manager, Rebuild Florida, HRRP. Anybody
I
know?
would like to see that, please. I'd like to know what the Florida Commerce Agency is. I know a lot about state government. I know what the Florida Department of Commerce is.
Is it that federal program or state program?
And there is a federal program. This federal program does in fact exist. But the Florida Commerce Agency does not exist, as far as I'm aware. Anybody else want to see this?
While they're looking at that, ma'am, do you have anything else you'd like to add, or are you done?
No, I just, I mean, I knew the problems with, a child getting into a pool area. So I did put a padlock on the door. I didn't know how else to secure it, but at least, it would prevent a child from getting into the pool area. Adult or whatever either, but, because definitely isn't safe, but,
I'd like to address this to the county attorney. In my opinion, of the 6 years I've been here, if anything we've ever seen, I think qualifies as a health, public safety, welfare issue. to be referred to the county for consideration, I would think this is it. So I would like to make that motion.
Is this-
However, I need to word that.
Okay, well, are you discussing the first and third of the cases,
Actually, I'd like to refer all of them
including the vegetation?
as a lump sum under that heading.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute if we can. The vegetation, and it's fine, a vegetation violation could be a public safety and health issue. I'd encourage you to get some information from the code enforcement officer about the proximity of the property at issue with the residents and, the status of any vermin or what have you with regard to that violation. With regard to the pool enclosure and the security of the pool enclosure, obviously, that's not an uncommon finding if there's a serious threat in those types of violations. And if one were to make a motion to that effect, it would simply just be that, in addition to finding of noncompliance, that the motion include the fact that the condition is a serious threat.
In fact, if I
And the county be
could,
notified.
if I could, I'd like to make a motion on this vegetation so that we can just clear it out of the way and get to exactly what she's saying, because I think she's on to something here. And this has just got to be a catastrophe for these neighbors that have a zero lot line. So I would like to move that in the case of the vegetation, which will be 25-19, I'd like to move that we accept the recommendation of staff, find it in violation with the staff recommended fine of $50 per day.
Motion on table, the motion is to have compliance by April 11th or $50 a day fine. That's on case number 25-19 CEB. That deals with the vegetation issue.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Simon, excuse me, second by Mr. Davis, motion by Mr. Simon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
May I ask a question?
One moment, ma'am.
Passes 4-1, sir. Passed 4-1. If I heard Mr. Bates correctly, it was in favor, that motion was approved.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes,
4-1.
4-1.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Now I think we can get to what you're getting at, and yes.
You wanted to say something?
No, I'm ready. Well, we've got two.
The respondent would like to say something.
Oh, I thought I heard somebody say they wanted to say something.
Ms. Fredericks, you have a
Well,
question?
the sides of the pool enclosure are still standing. It's the roof that's caved in and vegetation that was on that. I don't think it's a safe thing to go into and try and remove vegetation now until the whole thing is going to be removed with this rebuilt. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Well, yeah, and we appreciate the input. We sort of, that's being taken into consideration to the safety issues as
I
well.
mean, to remove the vegetation, just to remove the vegetation, all the debris is still there, and it's not, can't imagine somebody doing it, and being safe, doing just vegetation, just to get it out of there, well, when all of this is going to be removed, hopefully very, very soon.
Well, I'm not sure. You'll have to see who does the vegetation and concerns, share them with Officer Adair.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
The case is before the board for the violation. All the board has done is find that the vegetation violation exists and has given you time for compliance with regard to that. That's all they've done. In the event that the vegetation violation is not corrected, then the board may impose a $50 fine per day until the...
I understand that, but
But that's all the board is charged with addressing, ma'am. So the timing and the staging of these issues is something for you and your team to coordinate. That's not something for the board to walk you through. They're simply here to hear these cases and make a finding of a violation or not, and if so, the requisite fine to be applied if such. With respect to the board.
Mr. Chair, before you make a motion on the other two, hi, my name is Megan Zanorski. I'm a project coordinator for planning and zoning, and there was a question on the floor about the agency for the Florida of Commerce. It does appear that certain departments under Florida of Commerce do use the term agency. So it is a valid, I deal with the residential permitting for a lot of these structures, and they have to provide me a checklist that it's affordable housing or reconstruction when they submit at the time of permitting. She may be working through their processes, but there has not yet been a permit submitted with Seminole County for a demolition or rebuild of the existing structure. To bring this property in compliance, a demo permit could be issued for the residence itself prior to the single-family residence being submitted for permitting. That happens all the time, as long as zoning knows that there's going to be a permit coming back in for the replacement of the structure. The pool would not be an issue so long as it was secured appropriately during the demolition and waiting for the single-family residence permit to come back in.
Thank you for clearing that up for me. I did see a place online where the department had referred to itself as Florida Commerce, all one word, so I guess
I think they're updating their website just as fast as laws are changing in the state of Florida. It seems like our agencies are changing just as quickly.
Someday I may decide to live in the 21st century.
Thank you for adding that. Appreciate it. I'm sorry, I have one more question. This may be a question for Officer Adair, I'm not sure. But based on, I don't know if you heard what I read from the letter, but based on where she says she's at with this agency, or would there have been a permit pulled by now? And my question
Not
also,
necessarily. I can tell you with Habitat for Humanity, it can take them several months to get through the funding portion to allocate funds. I know I just recently permitted a house from Irma that was through the state. So the resolution for the structure itself could take years. These do not move quickly when they're through the state, from my experience.
Thank you. And along with that, unlike, I guess, a building permit violation that we've dealt with, if they had a permit tomorrow for this, it doesn't make this one go away. Is that correct, Officer Adair, or whoever has the answer to this? Or does the violation go away as soon as we get a permit and they're working on it, or is it?
So for an unsafe structure, and I'm not going to try to step on Mr. Adair's toes here, from unpermitted construction standpoint, when we have something that's similar in nature that's had work done, the way to bring it into compliance is to remove the nuisance. So in this case, an unsafe structure could be resolved by removing said unsafe structure, hence a demolition permit for the home.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we're ready to hear from Ms. Townsend now.
Okay, Ms. Townsend.
I think I made my motion.
No,
I just needed help on wording it.
well, the case that was dealt with was the second of the three, so that was 25-19-CEB by the motion by Mr. Simon, which was seconded by Mr. Bates and was approved 4-1. So
now we have 1 and 3 out there.
1 and 3.
So it would be back to 25-18, I believe, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll start with 25-18 CEB. This is the,
That's number 1, the unsecured pool.
yes.
Yes, and then number 3.
Let's do this first one.
Oh, you want them
We can make it-
separate? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I recommend one at a time.
My motion would be that I recommend that it be referred to the county under the health, safety, and public welfare issues.
We can add that. We need, I think we need to also find it that it's out of compliance and that give them a date and a fine, right?
If I could understand your motion, Ms. Townsend, if I understood what you were saying, you were moving to approve or find the recommendation of the county, but with the additive that the violation construes a serious threat to the public.
Right.
And you want that found in the motion as well with a
Yes.
compliance date of April 11th, if not the recommended fine.
That's why I was asking for help on how to word
Okay.
it.
Thank you both.
I will second that.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Townsend,
I
second by
have a
Mr.
question,
Simon.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If we pass that motion and the date isn't met, is that on the county then at that point?
What-
Who's responsible for meeting the date?
Well, it's a great question. What the finding of a serious threat to the public health, safety does is statutorily, the order that's going to be signed by the chairman, if that were to be adopted, a copy of that order would be copied to the county. They'd be put on notice that the board found there was a serious public threat stemming from a violation. The county could then, doesn't have to, has the discretion to then act independently to take self-help to remedy the violation, expend funds to bring the property into compliance, and then assess those costs against the property owner. But the significance of the finding from the Code Enforcement Board by adopting that in an order is it then gives the county the authority under statute to take action if is needed in the county's assessment.
So if we,
It's not an automatic, it doesn't automatically mean that the governing authority would take action. It just gives them the right to.
so the fine can still accumulate even though we
Yes.
put the responsibility on the
Yes,
county?
absolutely. And any costs of bringing the property into compliance would be ultimately assessed against the property owner if the county took the remedial action to remove or what have you.
The reason I'm in this predicament is because I don't have money to do things. And that's why I was recommended by somebody that I had spoken to here to go to Rebuild Florida. And now they're going to take care of it, but now you want me to pursue something else?
Well, we're taking everything into consideration, including what you just shared with us, including everything you've shared. So, but we have to make a decision today, and this is impacting other people. So we also have to take that in consideration. So that's what we're doing. So in the end, that's where we're at.
I mean, I know the aesthetics is impacting her, but is there in any other way impacting her?
Well, ma'am, at this point, we're talking about a motion we can't get into neighbors' impacts or anybody's impacts.
Mr. Chairman?
sorry, yes.
I know we had a motion by Ms. Townsend, and was there a second? By Mr. Simon? Okay, so.
Can I ask, I'm sorry, I have another question. Could I ask the person from zoning, does this agency she's working with have any possibility of reimbursing her if the county takes care of this issue soon? Or is that it's just off the table then once the county resolves the issue?
I can't speak to that, and I apologize. Nuisance abatement projects are done through building, not through zoning, so I'm not aware of their process for that. However, the likelihood that the state allots so much money, from what I understand, for like the demo, the rebuild, if the county comes in and demolishes it and, puts up a fence to secure the pool because the screen enclosure needs to come down as well at the same time, I don't know what the process would be because the county doesn't have a contract with the state to get reimbursement. The county is going to go back after the property owner for reimbursement. So could they? Potentially. But if there's only so much money and they're allotting for all of the different homes that need work, I don't know what the likelihood is that the state would reimburse the county for nuisance abatement.
So what it would come down to is it would be the owner's responsibility to try to pursue that?
Correct, to get reimbursed because the county would assess the property owner or lien the property owner for nuisance abatement remediation. And then she would have to deal with that consequence.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're back to a motion by Ms. Townsend to accept staff's recommendation, find there was a violation, accept staff's recommendation as presented, and adding on that it's a safety threat, health, welfare to the public, tag it with that. And I believe, second by Mr. Simon.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, okay, so I think that's where we're at. All in favor? If everybody understand the motion? Let me try again. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's that one. We have one left on this same respondent, and that's 25-21 CEB. On page 3, it's item number 5. This is the structure.
Pool enclosure location, yes.
Pool enclosure location that sort of collapsed and needs to be dealt with. The other one was the unsecured pool. This is the enclosure itself. The staff's recommendation by April 11th are $100 per day fine. That's what's being recommended. Any thoughts on that one?
I repeat my motion for the first one.
So just to clarify, Ms. Townsend, the motion for this case, 2521 CB, would be to accept staff's recommendation with the additional finding of a serious threat, that
Yes.
the violation consists of a serious threat, and giving the respondent until April 11th to bring the
I'd be in
property-
favor of, since we know the county can be backed up, maybe giving them till May the 11th to
Okay,
take
so
care
you
of it.
can make that part of your motion then?
Yes.
Okay, so,
I would repeat my first motion with the caveat of May the 11th in order for them to have time to evaluate it.
okay. And you want to make a serious threat finding as part of your motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Adverse health, safety, lives, and welfare of the citizens of Seminole County.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Townsend, second by Mr. Davis, to accept staff's recommendation as presented after finding that there is a violation. Accept staff's recommendation, however, changing the compliance date to May 11th or a $100 per day fine begins then. That's the motion on the table. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So what we've done, ma'am, the one, you've got 3 different violations here. The enclosure that needs to be dealt with that sort of collapsed, you've got till May 11th. You got a little extra time on that, or $100 a day fine. The pool being secure till April 11th or $250 a day fine, and the vegetation by April 11th or a $50 a day fine. So
Okay, now, what needs to be done to secure the
Officer
pool?
Adair will explain on each of those
Well,
violations, whatever you
I had
need.
talked to him about several weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and he said something about putting posts up and chicken wire across the, am I right? And I had asked if you could send me a picture of how that should be put up. And I didn't get anything, so that's why I went to the,
Well, he'll have to discuss whatever measures are available for you separate from the meeting here.
Correct, we'll discuss after.
okay,
Thank you for coming in.
thank you,
Much appreciated.
thank
Well,
you.
before we convene this case, I forgot to submit the PowerPoint presentation for 25-21. I would like to submit that now as a copy.
Am I done?
We're good. No, we're good.
Next case we're going to hear is on page 5, case number, it's item 8, case number 25-25 CEB, Jennifer L. Akers, 250 Cambridge Drive, Longwood, Florida, 32779. If you're here for that case, if you could please step up to the table. And when you get seated, if you could tell me your names and your relationship to the case.
Jennifer Akers, I'm the homeowner.
Scott Eisman.
And friend, neighbor?
Boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Officer Adair, whenever you're ready.
Code Enforcement Officer Cameron Adair, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, South Region. This is case number 25-25-CEB. The respondent is Jennifer L. Akers. I would like to submit a copy of this PowerPoint presentation to the clerk as Exhibit A. The violation is located at 250 Cambridge Drive, Seminole County, Florida. The violation charged, Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3E, abandoned or junk vehicles. My initial inspection was on November 6, 2024. Notices to respondents were November 20th and December 16th, 2024, with the following compliance dates: December 6th, 2024 and January 1st, 2025. Follow-up inspections were November 20th, 2024 through and including yesterday, March 26, 2025. The results are the abandoned or junk vehicle violation remains on subject property. This are images from my initial inspection on November 6, 2024. You can see in this image, there's actually 3 vehicles on the property, but I only took pictures of the 2. On the left, you can see a vehicle under a tarp with flat tires, and on the right, you can see a damaged vehicle with grass growing up to the frame, indicating it has not moved. This is a follow-up inspection on November 20th, 2024, same results. This is a follow-up December 16th, 2024. You can see that the initial vehicle that had the flat tires has been pumped full of air on the left, and the vehicle on the right with the grass has been covered by a tarp. Follow-up inspection on January 2nd, 2025. Same results. They have not been proven operable, but you can still tell it is the same vehicle based off the damage. That's the picture on the right. This is a follow-up inspection yesterday, March 26, 2025. You could see the red vehicle has been removed, but the other 2 remained, and you can tell it's the same vehicle by the damaged color of it, plus it has some sort of brick or 2x4 stop under the wheel, preventing it from rolling. The suggested recommendation by the code enforcement officer is, based on testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-25-CEB, it is determined that the respondent, Jennifer L. Aker, is the owner of record of property located at 250 Cambridge Drive, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, is in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3E. It is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of April 11, 2025. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove or repair all inoperable vehicles or store them in an enclosed garage or permitted attached carport. If the respondent does not comply with an order, a fine of $100 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions, Officer Adair?
I want to make sure I was counting correctly. There are 2 at this point, not 3?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Sir, I'm sorry, one more thing. How do we know this is a violation if the vehicles are tarped and have air in the tires?
We've spoke on the phone once, and he told me that the vehicles do not run. They're old cars he's working on.
We don't know whether they're in the same parking space, but we don't really know whether they've been moved or not.
Correct. They have. To me, the indicators are there that they have not been moved in some time.
Thank you.
and I'm assuming that normally if there was a question in your mind, since he said that he was working and they weren't running, he was working, you would have asked him to move them forward and backwards.
Correct.
He probably didn't do that because he told you they weren't running.
Every time I came to the house, knock on the door, no answer.
Okay, Miss Akers, and your friend that's with you, this is your opportunity to speak to these. You heard the recommendation. It's asking, the staff recommendation is asking for it to be corrected by April 11th or $100 a day fine.
The cars all run, they all drive. I did leave multiple messages on his answering machine. I spoke to him one time, end of last year, I don't remember exactly when. I did tell him that one car did not run, but I was in the process of making it run. That's the one that, the gray one, that, I don't know if you can show the pictures again, but.
The middle.
And I've called that one in the middle.
In the middle.
The one on the right? It was not running. It had a short, and we fixed it. It runs and drives now. The one all the way to the left is a 1957 Chevy. If I have pictures of it on my phone. None of these cars are junk. Those two are classic cars. That car I sold, so that one was gone a long time ago, which I called and told him about on the conversation, the one time I spoke to him. I even called yesterday and left him a message, but you haven't returned any of my calls. Only the one time that I called you that I spoke to you.
I called you this morning.
I checked my messages, and I don't have a message from you this morning. But notwithstanding, the cars run and drive. The burgundy car's gone, and the other two are on eBay for sale. So if you want to see them run and drive, I don't have a problem with that. But
Can't we have a cover on a car? I mean,
isn't it legal to have a proper cover on a car?
What if it was a-
Those aren't tarps, those are car covers that are made for those cars.
$100,000 car?
And isn't that the code? A car cover that fits on that car?
I don't think he'd be here if there was just a car cover on it, sir. I think he took everything in consideration, all the facts considered, including the fact that you said they weren't running, and that's why we're here today.
Well, I
So-
said one wasn't running, which it is now. But those are car covers, not tarps, and a tarp's not legal, but a car cover that is made for that car is legal,
No,
right?
I'm unaware of it being illegal to have a car
Right.
cover. That's not what we're here for.
It's not legal. A sheriff came to my house, knocked on my door, told me that if I had a car cover that was made for that car, that would be illegal. And I don't have to prove that it runs and drives in that state, but I don't have a problem proving that, because they do.
I understand.
But what is it you're asking me to do?
I'm asking you if the recommendation, if you have anything to share on the if you want to share anything, which you have shared a lot, and that'll all be taken into consideration, and the recommendation, if that's doable, it sounds like you're claiming it's already done, that by April 11th, everything will be corrected, it'll be a $100 a day fine, so.
You mean to make sure the cars run and drive?
Yeah,
Yes, that's the correction, right?
Yes.
That would resolve the problem, yeah.
They currently do. And if you want to make a date to come check, I have no problem with that.
We'll discuss after, but yes.
Pardon me?
We'll discuss after, but yes.
Okay.
So you're saying, sir, that you can contact Mr. Adair, he can see the vehicles run,
Yes,
move from their spot
Yes.
where they currently are, then back into their spot?
Absolutely.
And that would theoretically put him in compliance, yes?
Yes.
Wonderful.
And we have an option, Mr. Bates, go ahead, sir.
Just one question. Are these vehicles licensed, current tags, so forth, or does that even enter into this consideration?
That's only an indicator that they're inoperable. Have I been able to see the license plate and prove that it's up to date? No.
That's a question.
It was under the car.
Mr. Bates, that's a question for the respondent, to see if they have any documentation to show that the vehicles that are subject to the case are tagged and licensed as part of their indicia that they're not abandoned or junk.
Do the vehicles have tags?
the two, the 57 Chevy and the Dodge Dart classic cars do not. They're not registered. They're for sale. The other two, I guess they're not part of the violation
They're our
anyway, right?
cars.
Those both are tagged.
Mr. Adair, in order for him to comply with code, though, he would not have to take it out on the actual road, right? He could start the car, run it to the end of the driveway, pull it back into its space, and that would...
Correct. I just require it to move forward and backward 3 feet at least.
So it wouldn't effectively have to have a tag in order for it to be code compliant?
Does not require a tag.
Thank you.
And I have a question for our counsel here. Could we not, if we feel there's enough evidence, previously when he dealt with this and it was acknowledged that at least one of the cars wasn't running, could we not find that there was a violation that appears to be in compliance now and make that part of the record, but no compliance date or fine because we found that it's been corrected? And then from day one, if he goes over there, and if he goes over there tomorrow and it's not corrected, then the fines would start at that point.
Well, the issue becomes, if there's a finding that the property was in non-compliance but was corrected after the date that compliance should have been met stemming from the officer, That's the relevant finding that the board would make that would attach to the property for this violation in the future. In other words, if it was corrected within the time, presuming that there was a violation corrected within the time given by the county, then compliance was met and you would not make a finding of noncompliance. If alternatively you find that there was a violation, it was not corrected within the time given, but was corrected prior to today's hearing, then you'd make that finding that the property is now in compliance, and that though there was a finding of noncompliance, property is now in compliance, and you go forward. The significance of making a finding that there was a violation past the date of compliance from the county is a repeat violation of that can trigger a fine of $500 a day as opposed to $250 a day, or double the fine statutorily that attach. And a repeat violation can attach from the moment an officer recognizes a repeat violation, not from the date that is brought before the board or some future date. By statute, it can attach to the date a repeat violation was first observed. That's the most significant part of the finding of a violation, is that attachment and that potential for a repeat.
I'm concerned about future incidents. so-
Officer Deere, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If these vehicles are in the garage or behind the fence, is this still an issue?
In the garage, not an issue. Behind the fence, if I could see them or someone can see them, it's still an issue. Needs to be under a carport or in the garage.
Okay.
So, let's see. I guess we can do a few things. Anybody have any more discussion on this?
I'd make the motion to go by staff recommendation of date and time, amount for the fine.
Second.
Same as they recommended?
Yes.
And second by Mr. Bates. The motion by Ms. Townsend, second by Mr. Bates, to accept staff's recommendation as presented, which is finding that there was a violation and that it needs to be corrected by April 11th or $100 per day fine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
And one no. So 4 to 1.
4-1, yes, sir.
And so that's what we've done. You say they're all fixed, so I guess you have nothing to worry about.
And actually, one of the
Assuming.
cars will be gone tomorrow.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
One of the cars will be gone tomorrow.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate that.
I had a question,
Yes.
just for future. Are you saying you can have a car with a cover on it that would be legal as long as it runs and drives?
Yes.
Okay, for future.
Same thing. If the car is operable, you can put it in your yard. It just has to be capable of moving.
Thank you.
Okay, brings us to, thank you for coming in, I appreciate that. On page 8, item 11, that's case number 24-80 CEB, Phyllis L. Scott, Douglas Street, Sanford, Florida 32771. And the case along with that is 24-85 CEB, same respondent, same unassigned address, I guess.
Where are we at? I'm sorry?
Page 8 and page 9, last name Scott, Phyllis Scott, 2 cases.
Thank you.
And let's see, looks like Officer Henson's. And whenever y'all get seated, if you could tell us your name, please.
Phyllis L. Scott.
Thank you.
Candace Simmons.
Thank you. Officer Henson, whenever you're ready. You all have been sworn in, correct?
Yes.
You sworn, okay. Thank you.
Code Enforcement Officer Shannon Henson, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, North Region. This case is 20-80 CEB. Respondent is Phyllis L. Scott. It is, the violation charged is Seminole County Chapter 95, Section 95.4, defined as 95.3.B, uncultivated vegetation. The initial inspection was October 31st, 2023. There was a code board order on December 5th, 2024. I did 2 follow-up inspections afterwards on January 3rd, 2025, and yesterday, March 26th, 2025. The results of the follow-up inspection, the uncultivated vegetation violation no longer remains on the subject property. This picture was taken my initial inspection back in October 31st, 2023. This was the compliance on January 3rd, 2025. And then this was yesterday. The property is still in compliance. The suggested recommendation by the code enforcement officer based on the testimony evidence presented in case number 2480 CEB is determined that the respondent is Phyllis L. Scott, the owner of record of property located at Halsey Avenue and Douglas Street, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser, is in possession or control of the property and was in violation of Seminole County Chapter 95, 95.4, as defined in 95.3.b or B. And it is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board, based on the findings of fact, conclusion of law and order issued on December 5th, 2025, I'm requesting that the Code Enforcement Board to issue an order imposing a lien in the amount of $750 for 15 days of noncompliance from December 19th through and including December 3rd, 2025, and that the fine shall continue to accrue at $50 per day for each day the violation continues or would be repeated after March 27th, 2025. This concludes my presentation. Oh, I forgot to give the exhibit to the clerk.
Sure.
Thank you.
And my apologies, we're on the lien request now, obviously. So the...
Could you please go back to you have a photo from the 19th, December 19th?
No, I was unable to make it there, so that's why the fines began, because the original date was for them to be in compliance by December 19th. I was unable to make it till January 3rd. That was for their other cases.
So how do we know they were not in compliance if we don't?
We don't, but I have to base it on that because that's when the date was.
See what
Mr. Chairman?
we'll see what...
I apologize, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. May I ask a question of the officer, just to understand? The recommendation is for an order constituting a lien for $750 for 15 days of noncompliance from December 19th, 2024 through and including January 2nd. Is that right, for $750?
Yes.
But then, is the property now in compliance?
It is in compliance,
It was in
yes.
compliance as of January 2nd?
January 3rd, yeah.
Or January 3rd? And then it states for a $50, continuing $50 a day fine. What would that be for?
Only if they came into violation again.
Oh, I didn't understand. I apologize. Okay, so what's really being requested of the board is to adopt the imposition of an order constituting a lien for $750.
Whatever the board wishes to do.
For the days of noncompliance.
And then would have give code enforcement the ability to immediately begin fining this person should they come out of compliance again. Appears to be what's happening here.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Scott, this is your opportunity to speak to this. You've heard the recommendations and the presentation, so go ahead.
But I'm still confused because it's 2 parcels that we are talking about.
Oh, these are 2 different parcels?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of them was completed anywhere between, I would say, the date of the last hearing and the 12th of December, because my son had to leave town. So I know that part. One of them was completed. So on that, accident, and I didn't...
Which one are we talking about?
We are talking about, say, anywhere around the 12th.
Okay.
That was done. And it was my fault that I didn't call Ms. Shannon, because when I left here, I left under the impression that everything was to be done by the 31st. So that was my fault for not calling her, to tell her that that part was completed.
How about the other one? When did it come into compliance?
Oh, gosh. Right, it came into compliance like
I would say a day or two after Christmas, about the 28th, 29th.
We haven't seen that one yet, though,
Yeah,
correct?
they're both here. That one is the first one, case number 24-80. I guess you're saying it's the parcel ID that ends in 20, correct? On the one.
Yes, but it still has a little bit of smoothing out that they did do just before the year came in.
So they both, she says, were in compliance before January 3rd. And so we'll deal with this one first, case number, I guess, 24-80 CEB. It's one that parcel ID number ends in 1820.
Can we charge administrative cost?
I have the administrative cost,
And then still have the fine take effect after that date if they go out of compliance again?
Well, let me see if I can address that. I'm not sure I understand that question completely, but costs can be imposed. The costs that the county incurred can be a part of the case and imposed as part of the administrative fine. I've never seen quite a recommendation for an additional fine if the lien, once imposed, the violation would go back into noncompliance. That, to me, would be a repeat violation, which would be brought back before the board and addressed in that capacity, as opposed to within the
So we could just charge
within the
administrative cost?
parameters of a lien. Yes.
If on this case, if we want, just leave it at administrative cost, if they happen to be less than what, we've had a case where they were actually, the administrative costs were more than the fine was.
Yeah.
So can we use administrative costs if we like? In this case, it's in compliance?
It's the board's pleasure. With regard to the imposition of a lien, it's got to be what the board finds as the days of noncompliance when that lien was accruing. That's the frame that you need to find to calculate the amount of a lien. And then if you decide to decrease that amount, of course, that's your discretion, given the respondent's, level of cooperation and so forth and whatnot. But the costs, those can be addressed by the board in your discretion, absolutely.
So if we want to do administrative cost, we would have to give the applicant a time frame to pay that, correct?
Well, you could. You can just make it part of the order, and then they would pay it either immediately or as they could. It would be part of the lien. If there's a lien that's been imposed, it could be satisfied, in theory, right away by being paid, or it would act as a lien until it's satisfied.
Before we get that far, I mean, we've got a person here who came before this board, complied with this board's order. Code enforcement did not inspect the property on the date of compliance. They inspected it 3 weeks later, but it was in fact in compliance. I mean, I'd be willing to consider just dismissing this case entirely and just moving on to the next one.
Well, I've got the same issue. They say they were in compliance before January 3rd. County staff can't say whether it was or not unless I'm mistaken something. And so we have all the options on the table, but it just makes sense that.
I would just point out to the board for discussion that once an order by the board is imposed with a compliance date, and I'm certain the order would contain a directive that the property owner coordinate.
Correct.
Once compliance is met, that onus not be placed on the inspector, but be placed on the property owner.
Correct.
So I would just mention that as a normal course of process.
Good.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And there were 4 cases, and 3 of them were the 31st, and 2 of them were for the 19th.
For the 19th. And we have 2 of those in front of us here.
Right.
Now, I'm asking if you know this, you may not know this, but is the total administrative cost that's listed in item number 11, this is going to be tax parcel ID, this is going to be our case number 11, the first of the 2 that we're hearing. Is this administrative cost of $443, is that total for both cases, or does each one carry its own individual $443 cost for you guys? I mean,
Each would carry their own.
okay. No, I'm just going to move that we just dismiss this first case entirely, 24-80-CEB. Just move that we dismiss them, and if y'all are fine with that, then y'all are, and if you aren't, you aren't.
Without including administrative
Without
costs?
including a thing.
No.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Simon, second by Mr. Bates to dismiss this case number 24-80 CEB. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Nay. 3-2 carries.
Who was the third voting in favor of the motion?
The two that made it and me,
So, okay, so.
I believe, right? The two that,
By show of hands, the in favor of the motion were Mr. Bates, Mr. Simon, and Mr.
Warren.
Warren, excuse me. Yes. Passes 3-2, okay.
Okay, so that one's done. And 24-85, the recommendation,
We haven't seen that case yet.
oh, we haven't
I'd
seen
like to see this case before I...
I thought we, yeah. Okay. 24-85 CB, same case, same respondent, same address. Officer Hanson, whenever you're ready.
Yes. Code Enforcement Officer Shannon Henson, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, North Region. This is case number 24-25 CEB, Phyllis L. Scott. I would like to note that at the top, under the parcel ID, that number should have been at the back for the record, 1810. So it'd be 20-19-30-501-0000-1810, not 20. And this violation is the Seminole County Chapter 95, Section 95.3 is defined in 95.3B. It'd be uncultivated vegetation also. And this initial inspection was also October 31st, 2023. The code board order was on December 5th, 2024. The follow-up inspections were January 3rd, 2025, and yesterday, March 25th, 2025. The result of the inspection was the uncultivated vegetation no longer remains on the subject property. This is my inspection, October 31st, 2023. This was January 3rd, 2025, and this one was yesterday, March 26, 2025. The suggested recommendation by the code enforcement officer based on the testimony evidence presented in 24-25 CEB is determined that the respondent is Phyllis L. Scott, the owner of record of the property located at Halsey Avenue and Douglas Street, located in Seminole County, is determined by the property appraiser, is in possession or control of the property, was in violation of Seminole County Chapter 95, 95.4 as defined in 95.3B. Is further recommended based on the findings of fact, conclusion of law and order issued on December 5th, 2025. I'm requesting that the Code Enforcement Board to issue an order imposing a lien in the amount of $750 for 15 days of noncompliance from December 19th, 2024 through and including January 3rd, 2025, and that the fine shall accrue at $50 per day for each day if the violation continues or is repeated after March 25th, 2025. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions, Officer Henson?
Yeah, the photos look the same. I'm assuming the properties adjoin?
Yeah, they're right next to each other. That was on the corner, and then I went down the other street for the first one.
Any other questions, Officer Henson? Seeing none, this, again, it's your opportunity. We're now talking about the one that ends in 1810 is the parcel number. So.
Okay, well, I got them mixed up then. But the last one that I was saying that was done right after Christmas before the New Year came in. So, okay, I know I'm the one should have it straight. But this confused me. The first one that we was talking about, that was the 10. That was due, I think, before the 19th, and this one was too.
Well,
10 was did first.
We disposed of.
10 is the one we're talking about now.
Yeah, we're talking about 1810 now. We disposed of the other one, so don't worry about it. That case.
Oh, okay,
It
well,
was dismissed.
it's just because I get the numbers mixed up.
Sure,
That's
sure,
what
I
I'm saying. So this is the one that it would be the last one, and
And let me try to clear it up for you. We're here, the issue is there was a number of days, not a lot, but there was a number of days where it went and was not viewed as being in compliance. And
Okay.
it needed to be. And you had the date by the date, get it done by date, and it wasn't done by that date apparently, or officer didn't know whether it was or not. So we're here discussing that missed time.
okay.
And it's the recommendation, $750 lien on the property. They've shared with us some other information, administrative costs, that's another option we have. We have different options, but we have an issue with these days that it wasn't corrected,
Oh, okay. I got you.
okay? So that's what we're here to consider. I just want you to be clear.
Okay, I just,
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts or anything? The recommendation is $750 lien for 15 days non-compliance. Administrative costs were $443.07. They say it was in compliance before the deadline. We don't know because she wasn't contacted, and appears that she should have been, I guess. They knew to get you, right? They knew, yeah.
And they contacted you in January, and that's when you came out?
I'm not positive they contacted me in January, I just did my inspection after the
gotcha.
holidays.
Gotcha.
I'd make a motion, we accept administrative cost.
I second that. You're talking about the total, right?
Yes,
44307?
44307.
yes.
I can second that.
Just to clarify that motion, which has been seconded, is that the motion is to impose an order constituting a lien in the administrative cost amount of $443.07 if not paid.
Correct. And do we
Did you
need
say a
a
lien
date
of
with that then?
It would be, well, that they're seeking that.
Okay.
An order that goes unpaid for financial obligation would constitute a lien if it's recorded against the property. Obviously, the respondent could pay it long
I
before
was going
that.
to say, if we do it that way, if we do it as a lien, then they can,
Well, that's what the county's asking, that be.
Well, they're asking for the lien of $750, but they've
Correct.
thrown out there what the administrative costs are. We have in the past, in different cases, different scenarios, decided, says, well, let's do administrative costs, and if not paid within 30 days, or so, then we go to the lien. That's,
Well, it's effectively the same thing. If an order is entered imposing an order constituting a fine of the administrative costs, if that goes unpaid, it can be recorded and constitutes a lien on the property, so it's the same effect.
Same thing, okay.
Yeah, it's the same effect. But the motion, as I understood it, was to impose an order of payment of $443.07 as an imposition in this case.
so I guess the main thing would be,
Seconded by Mr.
whichever number we end up with, within a certain amount of days, it needs to be paid, or it's going to go to a lien. Is that correct?
Well, once you'd enter an order, it would be imposing a fine of a certain amount, which, once it's recorded, it creates a lien on the property once
Okay.
it's recorded, that's why. But if it's paid, just conceptually, if the response is, okay, they entered a fine of X, they walk down and pay it, it's satisfied, the matter's done, so it
I
doesn't.
wouldn't put a date on it. The clerk of the court will allow them to make payments if they need to,
Okay.
till it's satisfied.
So that's where we're at.
and my understanding is, just so that the respondents know this, is that if there are future violations on this property because of what we are enacting now, that will immediately allow code enforcement to go in and begin producing a fine of $50 a day.
I don't think that was part of the motion.
Well,
That's the
I
recommendation
thought
of
we were
staff.
just satisfying it with the administrative cost.
Yeah, two different things. Mr. Simon is referring to if this violation is repeated and it's detected as a repeat violation sometime in the future within a 5-year period of time on this property, a repeat violation could be found by the board and a fine could be imposed going back to the time that the repeat violation was first discovered, carrying forward until compliance. That could happen So that's an incentive for a property owner to stay in compliance once they've been found in non-compliance of a certain violation, so. But that's separate from what's happening here.
Okay.
Mike's point was that the fines would start right away when they see it a second time.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's my understanding of what,
It could attack.
if we accept staff's recommendation, that's my understanding of how it will go moving forward, is that they will be able to impose a fine of $50 per day beginning when they discover a new violation.
Well, you're right, that's the recommendation. Technically, what could happen, it's at the discretion of the county. County can assess whatever repeat violation they want to assess, but it's from the time that they observe a repeat violation, and those fines can be significant and prohibitive and much higher than what the statutory base fines are for a first violation. So a repeat violation is a big deal, at least conceptually. If the county decides to be lenient, of course, that's within their purview.
All right, thank you. So,
Just to make sure I understand, because what I seconded
Yep.
did not include that portion. What I seconded was his motion of satisfying this with $443.07.
That was his motion, yes. ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wonderful then. I'm much happier now.
so we have a motion. Who made the motion? Mr. Davis. Second by Ms. Townsend. To accept staff's recommendation and finding that there was a violation. However, reducing the amount to the administrative cost of $443.07.
I do not believe that's what the motion is.
It's not, okay.
Not to accept staff's recommendation. I believe the motion is to find them,
Exactly.
to find them not in compliance and to fine them $443.
Yes.
No, it didn't mean they weren't in compliance. It means we're going to satisfy this with administrative cost, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Not to accept staff's recommendation.
Thank you. So, revising that, the motion on the table, I believe, is to find that there was a violation, setting the fine at $443.07, period.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's Mr. Davis, I believe, second by Ms. Townsend. Everybody good? All on the same sheet of music? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that's what we've done on the second case, which is the 1810. It really doesn't matter, just for identifying purposes. The fine has been set at $443.07. If it is not paid in whatever time the county requires, it turns into a lien. The main point to remember here is what Mr. Sinan was trying to share with you. In the future, if you have another violation, you might be fined immediately because there was a violation. That's how it all works. Any violations. And you have a second one, then you're subject to not having this process that, you had all this time to go through to try to correct it. So I'm just sharing that with you.
I appreciate it. The person that caused all this problem, he can't do anything else anymore. My husband.
Oh, okay. Well, he did a good job. A lot of work was done. We could tell. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I mean, that caused the problem.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we're done here. Thank you for coming in.
And thank you
Much
all.
appreciated.
One question. How long do I have to pay this before it go on a record or something?
The clerk will do that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Ordinarily, I mean, obviously, the board has made the decision, so they've entered the amount as $443.07. It's going to be out there as a debt owed until it's satisfied. So ordinarily in these cases, in my experience, the board would give a time frame, and if it's not met, the original fine would revert to the original fines, which were being sought at $750 a day. So there'd be some incentive to pay that as soon as you can.
Oh, okay. I was just want to know before they put a lien or do something. But by the 5th.
Understood.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
And guys, for the record, I'm sorry I forgot to submit my paperwork.
Okay, I think we're done with all the in-person cases. We can jump to do the rest of them unless we need a break. I'm good either way. If we're good to keep going, I'll go ahead and keep rolling here. with,
How many more do we have?
I'm not sure, let's see what we got here. Let's see.
6 and 7. 8 and 9.
I think we're on 6, aren't we?
Are we on 6,
And 4.
25-23?
Yes, that's would be
Yeah,
the
looks
next
like we
one.
have 2 more, 6, 7, and 9, 10.
Okay,
Keep rolling.
keep going.
Okay,
I can hold.
item number 6, case number 25-23 CEB, Three Girls Property LLC, Vaughn Law PLLC, registered agent, 2311 South Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Altamont Springs 32701. Officer Hemingway, whenever you're ready.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good.
Code Enforcement Officer Shanita Hemingway, Seminole County Sheriff's Office, South Region, case number 2523 CEB, respondent Three Girl Properties LLC. Officer. I would like to submit a copy, Exhibit A. The violation address is 2311 South Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Seminole County, Florida. The violation is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3A, rubbish. My initial inspection was September 11, 2024. Notice to respondents was September 12, 2024, October 1st, 2024, and October 30th, 2024. Compliance date, September 27th, October 16th, and November 14th, 2024. Follow-up inspections were September 30th, 2024 through yesterday, March 26th, 2025. The results were that the rubbish violation remains on the subject property. It's my initial inspection, September 11th. You can see some of what was my high-definition camera. I don't know if you can see it as well, but on the one side, there's like trash bags, some rubbish kind of scattered there. And then on the other side, you can kind of see some, are those planks and some buckets under there. September 30th, you can see the bags there and some rubbish scattered there. Same picture, violation remained the same on October 29th. November 18th, the violation remained no change. As of yesterday, the planks were still there and the violation remained the same as of March 26, 2025. The suggested recommendation by a code enforcement officer is based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-23-CEB. It is determined that the respondent, Three Girls Properties LLC, is the owner of record of the property located at 2311 South Ronald Reagan Boulevard, located in Seminole County, as determined by property appraiser records, is in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3A. And it is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of April 11th. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove the rubbish from the property. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $100 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation, and for the record, I have not spoken to the property owner.
Have you spoken with the law firm at all?
No,
Did you attempt to contact them?
I did not.
Any other questions?
I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead to the next one. Can you explain why the lawn would be partially mowed but not completely?
Well, some of it, where I was standing, and you probably,
Well, let's finish.
jump to the next one, so.
Yeah,
we'll get
hang on
there.
1 second. Let's just knock this out. The recommendation is corrected by April 11th, or $100 a day fine. Any discussion, thoughts on that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Well, I have a question. If you've not spoken to the owner nor the lawyer, how are we letting them know of this?
Well, they got a certified letter from Alexa.
They've been
And I
served.
sent notices as well.
and posted, I'm sure. Posted.
It was certified.
Oh, it's, okay.
Green card, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sign forward.
I believe we had a motion by Mr. Simon, second by Mr. Bates, accept staff's recommendation, finding there was a violation. This needs to be corrected by April 11th, or a $100 a day fine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-1. Now, the next case, if you go ahead and present that, Officer Hemingway has 25-24 CEB, same address, same respondent.
Perfect, yeah. Go over it.
Whenever you're ready, Ms. Hemingway.
Yes, sir. Code Enforcement Officer Shanita Hemingway, Seminole County Sheriff's Office South Region, case number 25-24-CEB, respondent 3 Girl Properties LLC. I'd like to submit a copy to the clerk. Exhibit. Thank you. The violation address is 2311 South Ronald Reagan Boulevard, Seminole County, Florida. The violation is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3, uncultivated vegetation. My initial inspection was September 11th, 2024. Notice to respondents, September 12th, October 1st, and October 30th, 2024. Compliance date, September 27th, October 16th, and November 14th, 2024. Follow-up inspections were September 30th through yesterday, March 26th, 2025. The violation of uncultivated vegetation remains on the subject property. This is a picture of the front of the house, my initial inspection. And do you want me to address your question now or at the end?
At the end is fine because, you know, we saw the backside where it's cut, but only up to like a few feet before the house and then the mowing stopped.
Okay, I'll continue, then I'll explain.
Okay.
September 30th, 2024, you can see the grass is high. October 24th, you can see the uncultivated vegetation is well over 8 inches. November 18th, you can see the uncultivated vegetation is still there. Yesterday, it's a couple pictures of the uncultivated vegetation is still on the subject property. The suggested recommendation by a code enforcement officer is, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-23-CEB, it is determined that the respondent 3 Girl Properties LLC is the owner of record of the property located at 2311 South Ronald Reagan Boulevard, located in Seminole County as determined by the property appraiser's records, is in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, as defined in 95.3B. And it is further recommended that the Code Enforcement Board issue an order for the respondent to correct the violation on or before midnight of April 11, 2025. In order to correct the violation, the respondent must remove all uncultivated vegetation over 8 inches in height. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 a day will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
To address that, the part that's cut, that's a different lot, a different owner.
Okay.
So I have standing on a different lot because that property does have a no trespassing sign, so I couldn't go into that property.
And did you post the orange signs at any point?
No, it was certified. So they received a letter from Alexis.
I'm confused about, and I don't know if this is normal code enforcement procedure or not, so you guys can clue me in, but I'm confused about why we wouldn't try to call the law firm or post the orange signs. That seems to...
Well, you don't post when you get a green card because that means they signed for it. So they did get notice from Alexis. And they should have received mine as well.
Posting takes place when the certified mailings come back unsigned or are not confirmed as received or signed for, to perfect the service under the statute.
So this one recommendation is compliance by April 11th or $50 a day fine.
I move we accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Simon, second by Mr. Bates. Accept staff's recommendation, which is finding there was a violation, needs to be remedied by April 11th. this year, or a $50 per day fine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
Officer Hemingway, are you new?
Yes, ma'am.
Good job.
Excellent, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Get thrown to the sharks right away, huh? Let's see. Lien, back to the lien cases. 24-71 CEB, Trinity and Joshua Bailey, 181 Langford Drive, Chiliota, Florida, on page 6.
I got it.
Top of page 6. Again, address 181 Langford Drive, Chiliota, Florida, 32766. Officer Hill, it says. Yep.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement East Region. This is case 2471 CEB. Respondents are Trinity and Joshua Bailey. I'd like to submit a copy of this PowerPoint to the clerk as Exhibit 1. Again, this is case 2471 CEB, Trinity and Joshua Bailey, located at 181 Langford Drive in Choliota. Violation charge, Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3A, rubbish. My initial inspection was December 19th, 2024. Code board order was February 7th, 2025. Follow-up inspections were February 10th, February 18th, and yesterday. The results of my follow-up inspection is the violation of rubbish has been repeated. This photo is taken for after the code board order. This was taken on February 10th, 2025, and the rubbish is piled up by the curb. I have not heard from the property owner, so I took initiative to do another follow-up inspection to see if the trash was picked up, and it was. And this photo was taken on February 18th, 2025. And that's when I filed the affidavit of compliance at that time. Then I did an inspection yesterday, and there is more rubbish back on the property. So I have, before the hearing today, I did file an affidavit of repeat violation with the clerk. So I have not heard from the owner. I did call Waste Pro yesterday and spoke with them. They said that they were out at this property on March 12th. They tagged it and said it was going to cost $125 for pickup, and they have not heard from the property owner either. And that's why I filed the repeat violation. So the suggested recommendations based on the testimony presented in case 2471 CEB is determined that the respondents, Trinity and Joshua Bailey, are the owners of record located at 181 Langford Drive, located in Seminole County, as determined by property appraisers' records, in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4, is defined in 95.3A. And is further recommended the Code Enforcement Board, based on the findings of fact, conclusions of law and order, I am asking the Code Enforcement Board to issue an order constituting a lien in the amount of $1,100 for 11 days of noncompliance from February 7th, 2025 through and including February 17th, 2025 at $100 per day, and the fine shall continue to accrue $100 per day for each day the violation continues or is repeated after March 27, 2025. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions, Officer Hill? I have one. It's just out of curiosity, I guess. It's interesting that all that stuff's lined up where the trash usually comes, and thanks for calling them. That clears up something. But is it maybe it's for council. If that happens to have been an eviction and the landlord puts it out on the road where I thought they were supposed to put it out, and I don't know if that's the case. I'm just curious because it looked like maybe. I don't know.
Well, the landlord's ultimately responsible as the property owner. So if that's a violation, it's a violation, and it attaches to the landlord. I mean, technically, a tenant can be found in violation of a code enforcement action. The challenge with that is the ultimate teeth in an order is the lien component if it's not paid, if the fines are not paid. And if a tenant doesn't own property in the county or the city that's enforcing the code, it's somewhat of a hollow finding as against the tenant if they don't own property. Property owner in a landlord situation, totally different.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do we know if that's
It's not a rental property. They live there.
I mean, we had these people in front of us before.
Yes.
I didn't remember. Okay.
Mr. Bailey did show up at the first hearing.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's very organized debris on the side of the road. I mean, that looks like an attempt to clean up something. I would make the motion that we take administrative cost, $372.97, that we not constitute the lien of $1,100 at this time, but that we do institute the repeat violation at $100 per day with this.
That will come before the board later.
Oh, okay.
Because she showed the photo that, I mean, it's happening again, so.
Right.
So we've got this case to deal with. We'll see the other one at another day in the issue.
But I just made a motion, we need to do something with it.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what was your motion again?
The motion was to accept the payment, or the fine, rather, imposition of the fine of $372.97 as the penalty for this case.
Okay.
That motion has not been seconded.
Second.
No, it has been.
Motion by Ms. Townsend, second by Mr. Bates, to find that there,
Wait 1 second. My motion did include administrative staff recommendation of reinstituting the fine, the bottom part of that paragraph.
I didn't understand the.
I did say that.
Well,
I thought I did.
I apologize if I
probably
didn't
said it wrong.
understand. No, if I misunderstood. Mr.
Do you want me to restate it as best I can?
Mr. Bates seconded, so he probably understands better than me. I apologize.
I heard her.
Okay, thank you.
I heard you as
He knew
well.
what I meant.
I heard you as well.
All right.
okay, so let
My guys
me,
are behind me.
So, no, I'm sure. I just, as proposed, I apologize, I maybe didn't understand. So the motion is to enter an
Accept
order
administrative cost,
of the $372.97.
yes, and staff recommendation of reinstituting the fine based on,
That piece is going to be brought
Separate.
at a future case.
Okay.
The
That's
fine
a-
is currently running
That's,
again.
yeah, that's a
Right.
different case.
that's good.
So, right, so
It says right at the bottom of the recommendation, and the fine shall continue to accrue at $100 per day
Right.
for each day the violation continues or is repeated after March 27th.
I understand that, and yeah.
That's
that-
what she's saying. She wants that implemented.
Ms. Townsend does.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
and just wants to change the 1,100 to the 372.
Just so the board's aware, what Officer Hill is contemplating is to bring this property and this violation back as a repeat violation, which I'm going to presume is going to be a finding of a violation from the date of first observation carried forward to the time of the hearing at a future date. This, and this is where I got confused in the previous matter, this recommendation here talks about the imposition of an order constituting a fine for $1,100 for 11 days of noncompliance, and then adding on $100 per day thereafter anytime the fine is repeated after March 27th, which I said I've never seen that done because it complicates the repeat violation issue that I was referencing earlier. So my recommendation would be, and all respect, whatever the board wishes to do with the $1,100 lien amount of days, of 11 days of noncompliance, whether that's to reduce that to the administrative costs, which, as you mentioned, the 372, and let that be the fine to be entered as an order to be paid within 30 days, and if not, that it would be recorded as a lien, and allow the county to bring the repeat violation for what you saw today, as they're anticipating doing in the future. That'd be my recommendation, because you're going to see it anyway. And it's going to be very tricky to calculate a finding of a fine arising out of today's order when you see it again as a repeat.
We'd have two fines going for the same
Yeah,
thing.
I think it's cleaner to simply take this non-compliance 11 days and reduce it to what you want to reduce it to. All respect on the motion.
My understanding is, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is that's how we've handled each of these lien cases, is that it's always had this.
Well, this one's a little unusual because we know it's coming right back at us for a repeat. We're just going to have another fine, more than likely, attached to that. As an example, let's say it comes back, we say, oh, repeat, let's hit the maximum fine. we've already got a $100 one going over here, and now we throw a maximum on there for the same thing that's hasn't been corrected.
And the legal issue on that is there are fine limits on repeat violations, so you couldn't necessarily hit the max on a repeat violation because you've already got a piece of it stemming out of this, if you did that, if you adopted that.
Yeah.
So that's why I wouldn't,
Gets real
that's why
complicated.
I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend taking the recommendation presented in front of you to whatever amount you decide. As you decided, it would be this administrative amount. Or it could be the 1,100 along with the administrative, whatever number you all collectively choose. But staying away from the add-on after March 27th fine, because that's detached from this. You've got a framework from when the property was not in compliance. It didn't meet your previous order. You've got that framework. 11 days, they didn't comply. Then they did comply. So you framed out that fine. That's why the proposal was for $1,100 fine, and then you've got your costs. Is it making sense?
Do you want me to amend my motion?
Well, you've got a motion that's been seconded, so it's got to be voted upon, okay? I would recommend it fail. That'd be my recommendation. No, that's not personal. It's just because then you can start from scratch. It's nothing, no harm. It's just you can start from scratch with a different motion. That's my recommendation. Don't have to follow it.
Can't we just withdraw the motion?
It's been seconded now. I know Robert's Rules of Order, you have to take action on the motion that's been seconded.
And action can't be withdrawing.
You have to vote on it. But-
Can he withdraw his second?
You can, no, you can just, you can accomplish the same thing by simply voting nay against the motion as seconded, which would be my recommendation.
So again, we have the motion, it's the motion and seconded to accept staff's recommendation, however, adding the bottom language on there, if it continues to be $100 per day fine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Okay.
4-1 there.
Okay, so now you can make a new motion.
Try it again.
Yeah, go ahead. I'd like
Go
to see-
ahead, Dudley, try it.
Take another bite of that apple.
If I could, just, I don't mean to, just the recommendation would be to avoid this additional fine issue after March 27th. I would leave that out of the
Right.
calculation, yeah.
I'm going to make a motion just to accept staff recommendation of administrative cost in the total of $372.97.
Second.
Okay, and to be paid within a certain amount of time?
No. I think that's between them and the clerk's office.
Motion by Ms. Townsend, who's second? Mr. Bates?
Mr. Bates.
Mr. Bates to accept staff's recommendation that there was a violation in setting the fine at $372.97. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-1.
Before we move on to this second case, let me just bring up that the reason why I voted for that thing in the first place is because I haven't seen any new repeat offender case from code enforcement. I saw the first case where they came through here, then I saw them not comply, right? Now I have the opportunity to do something about it each time they continue not to comply, starting now, not to wait on code enforcement to bring me a new case where I got to look at new evidence. So, just keep that in mind as we move forward.
If I could respond to it, just because I know what the county's position is going to be on that, they're going to bring back the same violation, but they're going to give you the starting date from when the repeat started, show you the evidence, and ask for a finding of, or a fine rather, of, could be up to the maximum amount for each day from the date of repeat all the way forward, which will be a significant, substantially more than that was in front of you today.
And if I took a small bite out of that apple today and then couldn't try to swallow the apple all at once next time, then so be it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Understood. Sure.
If it's, let's say, just to throw out a number, let's say you could find somebody $1,000 a day theoretically as a repeat offender, and I had the chance right now to do 100 a day, that's why I voted aye.
Okay.
Just so that you
Well,
know.
of course, understood completely.
If that meant I had to vote for 900 the next time, then so be it.
Okay, brings
I'm
us.
sorry, y'all, please proceed.
Brings us to item 10 on page 7, case number 24-72-CB, Trinity and Joshua Bailey. Same respondents, same address, different violation apparently in Officer Hill, whenever you're ready.
Officer Hill, Seminole County Sheriff's Office Code Enforcement, East Region. This is case 2472, CEB. The respondents are Trinity and Joshua Bailey. I am submitting a copy of my PowerPoint to the clerk as Exhibit 1. Again, this is case 2472, CEB, Trinity and Joshua Bailey, located at 181 Langford Drive in Toledo, Florida. Violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 95. Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B, uncultivated vegetation. My initial inspection was December 19th, 2023, with should be a board order date of February 7th, 2025, with the follow-up inspections per the order of February 10th, 2025, again on February 18th and yesterday. The results of my inspections, the violation of uncultivated vegetation remains on the subject property. These photos were taken per the code board order on February 10th, 2025, so they cut the front yard and the side yard, but the backyard remained in a violation. These photos were taken on February 18th, 2025. The backyard still remains in violation. These photos were taken yesterday. The backyard was in compliance, but now the front yard was in violation. And these photos are the same date. Still, the front yard, it has uncultivated vegetation in excess of 8 inches in height. Suggested recommendation by the Code Enforcement Officer based on testimony and evidence presented in case 2472, CEB is determined that the respondents, Trinity and Joshua Bailey, are the owners of record located at 181 Langford Drive, located in Seminole County, is determined by property appraisers' records, in possession or control of the property, and is in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 95, Section 95.4 is defined in 95.3B. As for the recommended Code Enforcement Board, based on the findings of fact, conclusions of law and order, I'm asking the Code Enforcement Board to issue an order constituting a lien in the amount of $2,450 for 49 days of noncompliance from February 7th, 2025 through and including March 27th, 2025 at $50 per day, and the fine shall continue to accrue at $50 per day for each day the violation continues or is repeated after March 27, 2025. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, we don't have the same issues here because there's not a compliance period, correct?
Right.
Any questions for Officer Hill on this, or you ready to?
I move we accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Simon, second by Ms. Townsend, accept staff's recommendation as presented, which is finding there was a violation and imposing a lien of $2,400 for 49 days of noncompliance. And the fine shall continue to accrue at $50 per day. Each day the violation continues as repeated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-1. I think that might be our last actual case. There's other complied before. There was a noticing error. You can look at these, several that were complied prior. The tail end of the agenda here, other business.
Move we approve the minutes from the February meeting?
We are getting ready to. Yep, that's the, no.
Okay.
No, I'll take that motion.
There's a second as well.
Motion by Mr. Simon, second by Mr. Bates to approve the meeting minutes from February 27, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1. Confirmation date of our next meeting, April 24th, 2025. Please let the clerk know if you're not going to be able to be here. And does anybody have anything else before we hit the ground? No? Hit the ground running?
Am I correct that there will be no May meeting?
I think it's June. When is it May or June where you guys go to your?
I didn't see a May meeting on the
It's every
schedule.
June is face, every June. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there may or may not be a May meeting. I know June we won't have one unless things change, but yeah, so I guess we'll.
Keep you updated.
Okay.
I won't be here.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Ms. Townsend won't be here. Okay, anything else? No? We will adjourn it. A motion to adjourn at 4:06. Is there a second?
Okay, second.
Second by Mr. Bates. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Come on, I'm going to stay a little longer.